And welcome to the Industry 4 Community Podcast.
Podcast
Hosted by your host with the most, Walker D. Reynolds. All right, so today we're talking about, I got a bunch of follow-up questions to the podcast we did last week on MCP, AI, the announcement of UNS Studio. I've gotten a lot of questions from people about, hey, Walker, where is the industry going? You know, what are your observations, et cetera, et cetera. And so I decided, hey, Zach, we let's do a follow-up. We'll talk a little bit more about UNS Studio. Let's talk about the MCP workshop, kind of what we're doing there. But the big thing is, let's talk about where the industry is going. Okay. All right. So real quick, I've got to publish something real quick. And, but Zach, while I'm doing that, why don't you,
give a shout out to our sponsor, HiByte.
Yeah.
The intelligence, the data ops platform for business intelligence. Go check them out at highbyte.com. And special thanks to HiByte for working and partnering with us for the MCP workshop this month. Their CTO, Aaron Semley, is going to be doing a deep dive on July 29th and 30th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central. That's a 2-day workshop. The links will be in the description to sign up for that, or you can go to IIoT.university and it'll be there under the products or courses. So Walker.
Yes. Why don't let's talk about
what is the impact of artificial intelligence on our industry?
Let me give a couple of premises. All right. So I've been saying that MCP is to the fifth industrial revolution what MQTT was to the fourth. So I've been saying that, and I want to drive that.
And what was MQTT to the fourth for those who don't know?
Well, what's really important to understand is that the technological breakthrough that started the fourth industrial revolution was TCP/IP winning the protocol wars. Okay, so TCP/IP won the protocol wars, which basically made it possible to create the Internet of Things. So once you had TCP/IP, you could basically connect all the smart things together without having to have explicit programmatic connections to smart devices. You could take a PLC, put it on a network, and it could just be on that network communicating with the things that it needed to communicate with, but you could also add something to the network that could communicate to that PLC without having to have explicit master-slave relationship.
It was all RT, Modbus RTU.
Right, it was all explicit. They were explicit connections to one another, okay? All right, so TCP/IP wins the protocol wars in 1998. But the technology that made it possible for us to realize the promise of the fourth industrial revolution, which was the automation of business decisions, is MQTT. So TCP/IP, just because TCP/IP was created, didn't mean that we could realize the promise of Industry 4, which was we could automate business decisions. We could automate how we build schedules. We could automate how we schedule. We could automate
addition of new devices.
Yeah, the addition of new devices. We could automate the closed loop of managing recipes. Okay, we could automate business decisions in the ERP relative to operational realities within the PLC HMI SCADA layer. MQTT made that possible. Okay, REST was a good starting point. JSON was a good starting point. Like all those things helped make MQTT possible. But MQTT as a lightweight protocol that's edge-driven, report by exception, and also open, and it's stateful, and it's broker pub sub, made it possible for us to realize the promise of Industry 4. Okay,
right. JSON alone doesn't get you there.
JSON alone, right? Yeah. JSON alone doesn't get you there because you can't create self-aware. JSON doesn't give you. You need self-aware to automate business decisions, because in order to automate business decisions, you have to be able to respond to reality, not to the thing that you think was going to be reality. So when we have to if we have to explicitly create programmatic changes or programmatic connections, we have to create those explicitly, and we expect this, then this, then this, then this, right? You would have to engineer each of the originating thises. Okay, this is, if you look at one of the original videos I ever did that had the automation stack, and I was showing the arrows, how we would integrate from here to here and here to here and here to here.
You would have to go into your OPC server and configure all the tags.
The reason you didn't get a bunch of stuff done, was time and money. Okay. The rising edge of the fifth industrial revolution is ChatGPT, large language models, okay, which turned into large reasoning models, which turns into AI agents. And by the way, all that's happened in less than 3 years, in 2.5 years. Okay?
So LLMs are to the fifth what TCP/IP was to the fourth.
Correct. Yes. And by the way, I know that there are people debating, hey, the fifth industrial revolution hasn't started. Whatever. Okay, wait a couple of years, you'll know I was right. I'm not even going to debate that.
We would be the last ones to cry wolf about the fifth industrial revolution.
It's not even cry wolf. It's not an opinion. It's like, it's measurable. It's like, it's not my opinion.
Because there was people who said Industry 5.0 before, but we weren't there yet, right? It was
correct. Yeah, I mean, think about it. The fourth industrial revolution started in what year? 1998. When did the Industry 4 spec come out? 2011 or 12?
2011. Yeah.
It took them fucking 15 years to realize that things had changed. It did. It took them 15 years to realize, holy shit, everything's different.
And
you know what I mean?
Arguing that EU is not dead last.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the resistance here, but here's the point. So LLMs in 2022, rising edge of the fifth industrial revolution. What is the fifth industrial revolution all about? The convergence of human and artificial intelligence. Okay, so MCP is the breakthrough. It's the technological breakthrough equivalent to MQTT that is going to make us realize the promise of the convergence of artificial and human intelligence.
I'm laughing because it's insane.
Yeah, I have been knee deep in this. I mean, you know, we fundamentally changed our business strategy in January of 2023. In November of 22, when ChatGPT came out, my first action was everyone on this team, we're going to have enterprise ChatGPT. We have enterprise Gemini. I don't think we have enterprise Claude, but everyone's using Claude.
Side area line cell.
Right. And we already have a unified namespace and we've operated on one. Starting today, everyone is going to be, you're going to have a second screen open on the left and you're going to have a Copilot and you're going to be supervising AI. And I'm not going to give you any other instruction other than that. Okay. You're going to work on your fluency with large language models. And so then everyone on our team starts learning, okay, it's not the question I'm asking, it's the instruction set plus the objective I give a large language model that is the real value. Prompt engineering.
You're learning the language that AI speaks. And
correct.
I don't know why that's hard for people to understand. They say AI prompt engineering is a joke, but it's like, no, what you say to it actually makes
it's actually very, very, very important. Right. And in fact, I'll
playing a violin or something, like
right.
Sure, so everyone could mimic the motion, right?
All right. So here's the second piece. All right. So now model context protocol. So I've been saying for 6 months now, you must know model context MCP. You must know MCP. You must know MCP. And I've also made the statement, if you don't know MCP, you will not be working in this industry as an engineer in the future. Okay. That is, again, that's not my opinion. I know people hire me for my opinion sometimes. I'll be able to improve that empirically. I can prove that empirically. Even if MCP isn't the ultimate technology we use, it is the foundation for the ultimate technology that we use. Let's say there is some other API that comes out, some other standard for AI agents to interact, okay, to a toolkit for AI agents to do stuff. And I know we're talking fairly abstract. I'm gonna show you UNS Studio again. We'll go over this a little bit more, okay?
UNS Studio.
Yeah, the reality is that model context protocol is the glue that connects agents to infrastructure. That's what it is. It's the glue that connects them.
versus
So
discretely connecting each service to your AI.
I have been doing an absolute deep dive. I mean, I was already doing my research, but what I mean is I have set aside everything else that I've been doing, and for 4 weeks now, I have been 16 hours a day. This is not hyperbole. 16 hours a day. I have been knee deep in model context protocol, building multiple products. I've been knee deep. And the reason why is I want to know the limitations, the framework I'm intimately. And let me say this, and this will be a good clip here. Okay. For the last month, it is July 15th. For the last month, I have been knee deep in model context protocol and using various AI agents, not just for coding. The coding part's the easy part. Okay. Once you figure that out, once you figure out how to turn an AI agent into a really good software developer, by default, AI agents are not good software developers. It's the human being, the convergence of the human and artificial intelligence that makes them super coders. Okay. The person on the other, on this side of the screen that is interacting with the agent and is setting the rules. It's not just what you're typing in the chat box. Okay. It's not just what you're typing. It is all of the things. I showed Zach the workflow we have on GitHub for UNS Studio. Okay. How issues are created, how they're tracked, design documents, all of the resources that an AI agent uses to code products. Okay. That is the magic sauce the human being is providing. Okay. The human being, the fifth industrial revolution really is the convergence of the two. AI is not innovative. Okay. The agents they don't innovate. Okay. In fact, I would argue that agents over time devolve. They don't actually evolve. They devolve over time. How do we know that? Just stay in a chat for a really long time. Just stay in a chat for a really long time and hallucinations increase. Okay. And their output devolves. A human being doesn't do that. You spend more time with a human being gets smarter and smarter and smarter and starts eliminating the things that didn't work. Okay. And some humans are better than others at it. Okay. But what I find that what my role is with these agents is building a framework of my expertise, all the tools I would use if I was actually doing the work, and then making sure the agent stays, in between the guardrails, and then adding the tools and answering the questions the agent has. And in a normal day,
you are treating it like you have a not an entry level, but like a mid-level engineer working on a sprint for you. Like you
correct.
are the product owner, you're the sprint manager, and you're instructing it. And because it's like you've done that before, you're pretty good at it,
Yeah, let me say this. I have been knee deep in model context protocol for 4 weeks, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. Okay, literally 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. I have not taken a day off in a month. Even the day my granddaughter was born, I worked. When she was born, I was in the Admirals Club in Raleigh coding. Okay, and then I got on the plane and I was coding. I mean, I'm working every single day, knee deep, because I must know the limitations, protocol, the strengths, the weaknesses, and believe me, I promise you.
What stands out the most to you about model context protocol? Like the one thing that stands out the most.
Okay, here. I'll give you two. I'll give you one that's high level and one that's pretty detailed. Okay. The high level is this. Software development as we know it, all software, not even development, software as we think of it has changed. Okay. And by the way, you may notice something. Every software company out there, here's money quote, gang. Every software company out there has gone dead ass silent. Nobody's promoting any new product. I mean, the only promotion of any product I've seen was Flow Software did like a 60-second promo of their what is it, AI gateway? I can't remember what the product is. They did a 60-second promo of a gateway that they're encapsulating in Flow Software, right? And then after they did that video, they watched our podcast from the day before and saw, oh, how did, Jeff Nepper and I had a conversation. We weren't even talking. And we went in the exact same direction with the technology, the exact same direction. Okay. Outside of that one announcement, every software company is dead ass silent right now. You want to know why? I have a lot of friends in software.
They're freaking out.
I made a bunch of phone calls. They are fucking losing their minds. They are, Zach didn't want me to use this word, but I'm going to use it. They are terrified. They are shitting bricks. Software companies across the board are literally going, oh my God, what is happening? What is going to happen to us? Here's some implications of AI at the high level, and I'll do some details on MCP. All right. Number one, if you are an API developer, you're out of a job. Okay. If you are a person who builds APIs, say you write APIs with Fast API or whatever, you're out of a job. You are not needed as a developer. You are needed as a manager of agents who do the development. Okay. You can write a full-fledged API using software agents. Okay. You can write a full-fledged API, an API that would have taken a year, 3 years ago to get you your first 60 methods would take a year, one developer a year, one man year. When I say a year, I don't mean in time. I mean man years. Okay. You can do that in seconds now. I mean, literally the sprint I did to build the RESTful API for UNS Studio, the sprint that it was all built in one sprint. It lasted 10 minutes long, and it covered a man month of management. Okay, but it was 1 year of 1 man year of development compressed down into 10 minutes, and there were no bugs in the API, because that's number one. Number two, UI UX is dead. Okay, if you build user interfaces, if you design user experience and build it, that is not what you're going to be doing. That is no longer needed. You are not needed to actually smack the keyboards and build a UI, what we refer to as a static UI. Someone comes up with a design, they mock it. We're going to have that label there in this field here. That's all gone. All gone. You are now needed to give the instruction to the agent on how that UI will be built on the fly. Okay? So you are going to help build the instructions, which will be the wireframe for how the UI is built on the fly. So you're not going to be opening a visual object that exists in a program. You are going to be building that visual object as it's needed.
Why would you not have your prompts stored as like in a functional namespace?
You will. The point is
build your UI, you'll have your text prompt in your namespace.
And it's the way I'm doing it right now, but the answer is you will.
Obviously. That's fucking sick.
Okay, it is. I mean, hey guys, look at this. I don't know if you guys know this. Sam Elsner's here. Autodesk is purchasing PTC. Like that deal is in the works right now. It's public. It's not private. Okay. You want to know why that deal is going down? Because of the way PTC builds their software. Here's the reality. If you are a software company who did not have an open mindset, so that is, remember, if software is back end, it is basically persistence and data modeling and all that jazz. You got a back end, you got an API layer, and then you have a UI layer. How do I interact with the software? Okay. I'm not going to get us sued. This is a public thing. Okay. If you were not thinking that API needs to be exposed to external users, so that is, you didn't design the API in a way where let's say I'm the Acme company and I created Acme MES. Okay. And I built an API to interact with my backend. And that API is essentially a list of functions and retrievals and posts. Okay. That is, I'm getting data, I'm posting data, and then I'm also running functions. Okay. if you didn't build your API that way, then you can't map your API one for one to MCP tools. So an MCP tool is to an AI agent as a method in a REST API is to software. And you need to be able to take the API call and map it to an MCP tool. The difference is the MCP tool has parameters and instructions and posts and responses. They are uniquely constructed for an agent to leverage, an AI agent to leverage. If you didn't build your API in a way, yes, absolutely. Yeah. And by the way, Sam's at Kepware. He's not at PT.
Is there any reason why you would want to have a tool in MCP that wasn't necessarily a API call?
No, absolutely not.
in fact, you would want that functionality in MCP, you'd want it accessible. You'd already have it in an API.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that here's the impact. Okay, well, let's talk about what's not going to be impacted greatly. Everything's going to be impacted across the whole stack. So PLC HMI, you're going to have MCP servers running inside of PLCs. Okay, the second level is SCADA. SCADA is you're going to have agents embedded for human beings to interact, but you're going to have agents in the design environment to help developers develop.
For someone who doesn't know PLCs,
hold on.
Why would they?
Hold on. Yeah. Let me get through the point so I don't forget. All right, MES going to change fundamentally. MES as we know it is completely changed. It is we're going to go to Mariano's thing here. MES as we know it is going to completely change. ERP as we know it's going to completely change. Cloud as we know it is going to completely change. It will be unrecognizable. Okay. Here's the SCADA part. Okay. Anything that involves control, that is a human being or an agent is interacting with an input that is going to ultimately physically move something in the field. That's going to change a lot less. Okay. That's going to change a lot less. Okay. But all of the places where we consume data and information and we process it for decision making, okay, MES, ERP, and cloud especially, fundamentally changed.
So, but if someone's not familiar with PLCs, explain what you would use MCP tools to do on a PLC.
Sure.
Right. Like
so
add an IO card or
for example, think about it. IEC 61131 is 3 types of PLC programming. That is logic. It's basically software programs, scripts that run in a loop that are basically running on a piece of hardware. They're embedded on hardware. There's 3 languages that we can write in that the hardware can consume to read IO, do logical programming, and then write out to read inputs and then do logical decision-making and write to outputs, right? That's what PLCs do. Okay. The one is ladder. The only reason ladder exists is because at the beginning of the 3rd industrial revolution, everyone was using 1-line and 2-line diagrams to write relay logic. Okay. They used ladder. Ladder was the original programming language for PLCs so that the electricians and the engineers who were designing relay logic would be able to just jump over and
they were already fluent.
And they were already fluent in it.
Yeah.
But what is the optimal way? What is the optimal way to write a PLC program? Well, the second place,
function block or structured text.
It's really structured text. Function block was the second iteration, and structured text is where anybody who comes out and starts writing PLC programs today, if you teach them IEC 61131 and they get to choose between ladder, function, or structured text, guess what they check? They pick. They always pick structured text, right? Well, structured text is uniquely positioned for large language models and large reasoning models. So what will the MCP server running on a PLC do? Well, there's a whole list of methods inside of a PLC to do things like scan IO, write to IO, to scan the firmware, to measure performance, to monitor temperature, to all the gets and the puts, all the machine code that's on a PLC, you can expose through MCP to an agent. Now, the question is, how much of that is valuable today? I don't know. But what I do know is that I have built UNS Studio from scratch with a completely open API. As of today, there are 9.1 million lines of code in UNS Studio. Okay, I had a UNS simulator we wrote internally a year and a half ago. You guys may have seen it when I do teach lessons. I would spin up a program where I grab a simulator, select a broker, and it would publish simulated manufacturing environments. That is a tiny module inside of UNS Studio now. Okay, UNS Studio added 3.1 million lines of code in 1 week. It went from 6 million to 9.1 million lines of code in 1 week. It cost me
the number of lines of code on the website.
It cost me $4,200 in compute to do that. Okay, so I'm not going to lie. To write that amount of code, you should see my Claude bill, my Claude Max bill. You should see it. Okay, I have I am supervising 5 AI agents at the same time, running in various platforms. Cursor. What? Yeah, go ahead.
You think of an IIoT platform, just like a big SCADA IIoT platform that has billions of lines, like a billion lines of code or whatever. Like you're like, I could rebuild that in a month.
Yes, I could. There are many platforms I could rebuild from scratch in a month.
And
today.
They know it.
And they know it. They are all. I'm not me. Yassir is very right. I'm not talking about just me. Yassir here, right? He says AI
multiple for one person.
Right. He says AI multiplies rather than replaces. If the human is highly intelligent, both IQ and EQ, this is very important. Not just the intelligence, the emotion, the intellectual intelligence, but the intelligent quotient and the emotional quotient. Both of those. If you are good at both, here's another skill, Yassir, I would argue. You have got to be able to take glacial scale, things that used to take 3 years. You have to be able to see the whole 3-year window. And you've got to be able to take 2 weeks and see that now as 10 minutes. And you got to be able to see 6 to 8 weeks. You got to look at 6 to 8 weeks and see that now as 60 minutes. And you've got to be able to process that fast to really maximize. Well, no question.
That's hard to do because human beings think linearly. They don't think exponentially.
AI and humans work symbiotically, man. I'm telling you. Like the more I'm in this, I'm like, wait a minute. This isn't replacing people. People are more important with AI. They're not less important. But it's what is the importance that changes. Okay? So when you're developing software, okay, when you're writing, let's talk about software. And by the way, if you build a SCADA system, you are developing software. You're taking someone else's platform and you are creating software for a customer. Okay, that's what I mean. I don't just mean building products, software products that you sell. Okay. So Mariano Barro, he says, you don't have any more templated windows on Ignition that get from the UNS what tools put in. Now you'll have prompts stored and build on process time. It's not either or, it's mostly the latter. All right. For example, I'm in the middle of a.
You going to show the demo?
Yeah, I'm going to show it here in a second, but I'm going to show a couple of examples. But
you guys want to stick around for this? Like what he showed me this morning, it fucking blew my mind, and I was like, dude, you are fully merged with AI. Like you are fully integrated. It blew my mind.
All right, so I want to lay a couple of. I want to say a couple of things here. This is very important, okay? So where is AI taking us? Okay, this is really, really important stuff. All right, number one, all software companies are quiet. All of them are quiet. Everybody is freaking out. If you work in a software company too, if you work for a software company right now, I guarantee that there are people internally who see the potential of agentic AI, specifically around model context protocol. In fact, agentic AI is basically nothing without MCP. I'm going to be honest with you. Okay. But the layers here the onion goes so deep. There are people inside those companies who understand the potential. And then there are leaders who don't. There are leaders who are only seeing market impact. Let me say this. There are a lot of software companies who are screwed. We are going to see an absolute explosion in M&A. You're going to see companies going broke and
Also, an explosion of new companies.
And you're going to see an explosion of new companies. Your value as a software developer is no longer like, think about it. Like, think about what most software is. When you sell software, you are basically charging an obscene amount of money to someone. And the reason they're paying it is because they don't want to take the 3 years to build it themselves. Well, guess what? It doesn't take them 3 years anymore. It doesn't take 3 years. You can build a whole product from scratch in a month. You don't need 30 developers. I've been calculating everything in man years, right? So the total number of lines of code just for UNS Studio, if you look at my Bible app, the Bible app is 1.8 million lines of code. And I started writing that 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, I started writing the Bible app that I'm using. That I'm going to open source that whole thing, by the way. That's going to go, it'll be in a public repository. I'm obviously not, the UNS Studio. Wait till you guys hear what the pricing is going to be on that. Okay, here's what we've done here's the new commercials for software. Okay, it is the total number of licenses you think people are gonna pay for. Okay, and we think we're using 1,000 as the number, and then we're basically calculating what is our total operating costs. Okay, for UNS Studio for 1 year. Okay. Then we are dividing 1,000 into the total cost. Okay. So that's compute, manpower, maintenance. That's everything. Okay. And then it's that number plus 20% is how much each individual needs to pay. If we operate on 1,000 seats. And that number,
we hit 1,000, we're going to go 10,000.
That number is microscopic. It is a microscopic number. You know how you guys are so accustomed to spending $30,000 on a platform? Those numbers, they make no sense. They make no sense. Like, the economics have fundamentally changed. $420. Fundamentally changed. Jeff Rankinen, I have calculated that so right now I'm spending $4,000, I think $4,000 a week on compute. So that's $16,000 a month, right? So that's just under $200,000 a year on compute to maintain the software. Okay. Then you've got the people, you've got the labor, and the maintenance costs. So my total costs are, I think, going to be around $800,000 a year for a platform which is learning UNS and digital transformation by connecting, designing, building, and leveraging UNS. That's what UNS Studio is. Now, UNS Studio is not designed to connect to hardware and control things. That is not where we are. We're not. Let me state this. I don't see a scenario where running things, where we're controlling movement in the field, is going to change drastically. It's more of that we're going to add to the existing way we do it. We're going to augment it. But the way we do MES, what is a manufacturing execution? The way we track current state, that's all going to change. That's all going to change. You're no longer going to be constrained by the work you did, the 6 months you spent on consultants building shit. So therefore you're going to take it the way it is instead of just redo it from scratch. You are going to continuously be in this loop of making the way that you inform decision makers. You're going to continuously be in this loop of redoing it, making it better incrementally. Continuous improvement is going to be, continuous improvement's going to be, a year's worth of continuous improvement will be done in a week. Like, it's mind-boggling. Mind-boggling.
See what Matt Fisher said.
Matt Fisher, where is it? I'm seeing a lot of people say, hope that AI will contextualize and clean large data sets from various, but I was under understanding that for AI, you have to feed an AI solution a payload of data that's ready to be used. No, well, that's the old way. Okay. So let me give you a good example here. Okay. Let me give you an example, Matt. So model context protocol is actually, let me show you what MCP looks like. Okay. Let me do that. All right. Let me,
So the skepticism is around AI being a magic wand.
well, it's not a magic wand. It's the whole reason it here is, the value of people. Okay. The value of people is in defining the problem that needs to be solved and seeing all of the variables that go into effectively solving it, and then deciding how to piece things together. Okay. Yes, you want to see this link that Sam dropped in. The way that we used to sell software, yes, and cleaning data. I'm gonna show you an example of how MCP works, Matt Fisher, and then I'm gonna talk about where the value of the human being comes in and what AI is really good at, and like what the person is really needed for. Because at the end of the day, we have to stick with first principles. And the first principle is this: humanity built all this shit on Earth from dirt and water. Okay, I don't know if you guys ever just drive down the road and look at it like it really bothers me when people complain about, the world sucks, and especially like Gen Zers, they all think the world, and I'm like, wait, do you not don't you ever just drive down the road and look at a bunch of buildings and go, you know what's nuts? We built all this shit from dirt and water. Like ever since the beginning of civilization, we went from dirt and water. Matt, Zach, you have to share that link.
Yeah, I shared it here. Hold on.
Yeah.
I can't really copy that text. Hold on.
We created all of this from dirt and water. Okay, what is manufacturing? What is industry? It is the conversion of raw material into useful finished good. Okay? And it's not always done in one step. What is the supply chain? The supply chain is all the steps it takes to convert raw materials into some useful finished good for human beings. Okay? And some of the steps in there in the supply chain, in the actual, let's say the tier 1 manufacturing step, is there's quality control analysis to make sure that the finished good that gets to the people at the end is useful. Okay. What is software? Okay. What is software in that link? Software is us taking a problem and trying to solve it programmatically, where computers help us as a tool. Okay. The first principle here is that at the end of the day, all software, hardware, any tools we use in industry has to improve, make it more efficient to take the thing we're bringing in the back door and produce the thing we're taking out the front door. And efficiency could be doing it cheaper, faster, safer, higher quality. Okay. All of the data and information that we use in manufacturing and industry serves that end. More efficient, more safe, higher quality, faster. Okay. When we're using model context when we're using AI, it's not hype. I had a message come in. I had a message come in from one of our partners, and she had asked me, she said, "Hey, Walker, can you explain to me how the way that you guys are using AI agents, can you give me an example of 3 things you used to do that you don't do now? Agents are doing it for you." And I said, "I'm happy to do that." All right. So number 1, I said, I am no longer, so I have to run fullstrength.ai. I've got to run 4.0 solutions, and then I have to manage like a portfolio. Okay. And then there's the third thing I got to do is manage the Prove It conference. All right. So those are the things I do. All right. So I said to her, I'm not selecting focus areas for each day anymore. My agent does business analysis for me through the Stripe API, YouTube Analytics, Zoho, Gmail, Google Drive, Google Calendar. And then it builds a multi-tab report for me that I wake up to with complete analytics and a list of things I must do in the next 48 hours by priority. It monitors all the APIs in the background and informs me of any changes to my focus areas. That's number one. So I have an AI agent that is connected to 5 MCP servers. It has a prompt and it has a trigger. And that agent goes and it hits our YouTube Analytics API, our YouTube Stats API, my email, my Google Calendar, our Stripe MCP server, and now UNS Studio, which is plugged into our unified namespace. Okay. The agent is given my objective. The agent is said, okay, your job is to look at the last 48 hours, look at the next 48 hours, and your job is to focus me. Here's all the things you have access to. All it does is plug into MCP. It sees the tools. I give it an objective. It looks at all the tools it has available at its disposal, and it uses those tools to combine together a bunch of data and information that it is going to analyze and process. And then it's going to say, based on my expertise, here are your focus areas. And I wake up in the morning to that, okay, in a multi-tab dashboard. It takes me 30 seconds to go through. And then I have my 5 target areas. Yeah, all the MCP servers we're using are free. They better be. If you're going to be charging for your MCP server, ain't nobody buying. There ain't nobody out there whose software is so valuable that they can charge for their MCP server. That should be a mind fuck for anybody. For real. There's no MCP server out there that you're going to be able to charge for. The MCP server is a entry point for you to keep your customers. Okay, charging for your MCP server is like charging for the routing table on the router. Okay, you don't get to do that. You don't charge extra for the routing table. You may charge extra for people to access your API. Try and get away with that now. The only reason you would charge is because the level of effort it takes to build the API. Guess what? The API is easy to fucking build. It's easy to build. Easy. Seconds. You can literally take all the functions in a piece of software and you can convert functions into post and get API, a RESTful API like that in 60 seconds. What are you charging for? You're charging for your ability to tell the AI agent to do it?
Server resources, maybe?
Yeah, that's the only part you get to charge for. But guess what? We're all already paying for that compute. Guess who's got all the cards in their hands? Anthropic, OpenAI, Google.
XAI.
They're the one. They hold all the cards. They hold all the cards. Number 2, let me talk about this second thing. I said I'm no longer calling LinkedIn, YouTube, Discord, or emails for what the community needs. I'm being informed by an agent. So all the content that we're producing is coming from agents. We have agents monitoring the Discord server through a bot. And the agent is telling us what to do. Hey, there's a report I use I wish I could show you, but I can't. Zach gets to see it, but I can't share it publicly. But maybe I'll build a different report. But let me copy this link and open this. Hold on. Let me open this report real quick because I want to share this with you guys. And then number 3, financial analysis. So cash flow and all other financials are handled by an agent. I'm just reviewing and then meeting with the team on strategy. I have literally reduced my workload from 12 to 14 hours a day running my companies to 15 minutes running the company and 15 hours and 45 minutes a day building products in a month. And I'm one guy. Imagine you're an organization Imagine you're an organization who does that.
Well, if it's changed this fast so far, imagine how much it's going to change in the future.
All right, real quick, I want to show you. I'm going to share my screen real quick.
UNS Studio demo?
I'm going to do two things. Let me go here. All right, this is an example. So this comes from our virtual factory, okay? And this is an example. This is an example of a report that's built by an agent from real production data. Here is the prompt, okay? The prompt is...
Using UNS Studio.
Yeah, this is using UNS Studio. But here's the prompt that the agent was given, okay? And this is real. This is from Virtual Factory. This is the factory that is, let me go here. It's from
the Prove It Virtual Factory, or
yeah.
and virtualfactory.online.
So this right here is UNS Studio. We're looking at the viewer here, okay? This is the Virtual Factory, okay? It's running. It is a recording of a manufacturing facility in Dallas, 2 hours or whatever. And it is there's an MCP server running on UNS Studio. I'll show you what the server looks like. All right, so this is the UNS Studio MCP server. All right. I'm going to load the methods. And these are the methods that the agent, any AI agent, has access to inside of our studio right now. Okay. So we can get any broker configuration. We can get any available simulator, any running simulator, any active topics. So that includes anything we're connected to. We can get a topic payload, topics by pattern, topic hierarchy, topic history. Those are the topics in the UNS. Simulator details, broker status, active broker, and GUI stats. So for example, let's say I want to know, I want to get the broker status of home lab. So the lab that we're connected to, the broker we're connected to right now is actually, let's do
Virtual Factory.
No, we'll do Prove It. We want to connect to the status of that. All right. So we are connected to the Prove It broker. Okay. So what happened was an agent hits this broker status endpoint, and it says it sees this instruction. It says you can get this connection status for a specified broker. The only argument we pass in is a name of a broker we want to check the status for. The agent sees that. The agent gets connected to the server, then it sees the list of all the methods, and then it sees this instruction. So the agent, a large language model or a large reasoning model, says, oh, I have a method I can use called get broker status. And I can get the connection status for any specified broker. And the only argument I got to pass in there is broker name. Well, where do I get the broker name from? Well, I also have a method called get broker configurations. So I can run that method. It'll give me a list of brokers, and then I take the name from the broker. I go to the get broker status, and then I pass and prove it. And what returns back is this. Okay.
And you're working on the API right now to be able to add broker connection.
Right. If I want to know which broker's active, it's this one.
Get active.
We are connected to the active broker that we're connected to is Prove It. And then let's get topics by pattern. So I want to get all the topics that have press 103 in it. So the agent can do this. And I'll limit it to the first 10. Okay. So I run the method, and then it hits the unified namespace. Well, I'll go back in a second. But it hits the unified namespace. I have all the screens refresh when I move away. So let's go to load methods. Let's get topic by pattern. Press 103. We'll just get 50.
There's all your topics.
And then it grabs all the topics that have press 103 in it. And then if I want to get the history, it might go, okay, I want the history of not the line ID, but whatever count. Go to topic history. It takes the topic that it got from the topic pattern, and it drops it in, and it pulls the history. And it does this.
Okay, it would be sick to have alarming.
The agent, well, there is. You're looking at a different branch of the project.
Like if you could like add an alarm configuration, like nothing crazy, but like, and then it sends out a text or
you already can. Like in my Bible app. I have an agent that I have the AI commentary run. Like today. Hold on a second. So today was Proverbs chapter 15. So I said to the agent, do the AI commentary, but then also give me a list of verses that I really should pay attention to. Not just what talks to me, but what if a verse doesn't talk to me and I should pay attention to it? Give me a list of the verses that Christians generally really pay attention to. And it was verse number 1 in Proverbs 15:1, and it was about
what is that? What did that one say?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but let me see if I still have it running back here. I don't. But Proverbs chapter 1, it gave the quote, and it told me here's why I should care about Proverbs chapter 1. And then what I was able to do was say, I want you to bookmark that for me. And the agent bookmarked it inside my application, even though the agent was running outside of the application. And how did it do that? It did it through the MCP server.
Gee, that's
using a tool. It saved a bookmark for me.
You have to be the world's first Bible app to have an MCP server bidirectional.
Oh, there's no question. I built the first MCP server for a Bible.
We were at Prove It in February this year, right? We had February 2025, the first Prove It conference. We're having the second Prove It conference February 2026. But no one was talking about MCP in February.
I had saw MCP, the initial announcement in June that Anthropic was working on this, and they released it at the beginning of the year. No one had even, no one even started paying attention until March. And that's how much, look, and now that MCP is out, look, this is the prompt I gave. The agent to build this report. Here is the instruction I gave the agent. Okay, the agent had access to the unified namespace through UNS Studio for Virtual Factory. So it has, if you guys went to Prove It, you know how the Virtual Factory is constructed. Enterprise Site Airline Cell. It's a flexible packager. All right. The instruction was using UNS Studio. The agent is connected to like 6 MCP servers. One of them is called UNS Studio. I said, using UNS Studio, use the topics and topic history to build a production report for Press 103. It's going to be for managers and supervisors, informing them of current state. Include a tab for the press schedule and create a simulated schedule of jobs to run on the press for the next 48 hours. Not simulated. What I mean is, when I said simulated, the definition of simulated in the Virtual Factory is an unpublished schedule. So it's a real schedule that we haven't published and said this is what we're actually going to run. So it's a recommendation. For the jobs to run in the next 48 hours, build and react with dark mode. Okay. So it built this report. So tab 1 is the overview. The press is stopped. Press 103 has been running for 55 minutes and it's stopped. It should be running at 850 feet per minute. It's not running at all. It hasn't produced any units. Its overall efficiency is 0. The availability is 85% and it's produced 98.5% quality. So it has produced some parts during the changeover, and only 98.5% of them are any good. Okay. Number 2, the analytics. And number 3, the projected schedule. This was built on the fly. An agent built this. And by the way, this isn't something I invested any time in. Like, I didn't put a massive amount of effort in. It was like, hey, how do I demonstrate the art of the possible with MCP? Like, if that right there doesn't tell you where we're going, think about it. When you launch whatever, Looker Studio Pro in Google right now, right? When you build a dashboard in Looker Studio Pro, okay? That dashboard is is something someone built. Someone took a component, they dragged it onto a screen. Then they went and they said, I want this component to be connected to this. I want this component to be connected to this data set. And then I want you to manipulate the data set this way.
I mean, UNS sort of did find this. UNS became pretty fucking popular. There's a lot of hype still about UNS.
He said, yes, MCP hype is really crazy. I honestly, I don't think it's hype. I think, I want to say something, guys. The nature of software has changed. So development is just so much faster. Think about the loop. Think about the loop at which software improves right now. You buy some software. Let's use Yasir's company, MaestroHub. So Yasir has a data ops platform. MaestroHub, they have a data ops platform called MaestroHub. MaestroHub, it has connectors, it has data operation, it can consume and it can push. Okay? And then it has data operations in the middle, and that's got a bunch of other features. But what does it actually do? It consumes data and converts it, it models it or converts it into information, and then it pipes it based on certain rules to other destinations. Okay. And then it's got other features, but that's the core of MaestroHub. Okay. If you sit down and you go, hey, I want to build MaestroHub. I want to, why would I pay Yasir for a license? What am I paying for? In most software, you are paying for the time it takes and the amount of money it takes to build software. That's what you're paying for. Okay. MaestroHub probably took 6 months, 8 months to get to an alpha where it only had maybe a couple features. It probably took a year and a half to get to actual real beta. Okay. It was a minimum a year, I'll bet, before it could go to production. And then think about all the requests that come in. Now a customer has it, the customer uses it, the customer wishes that it did some other feature. Maybe they ask, maybe they tell you, I wish it had this feature. Maybe they don't. Maybe they see a bug and they tell you about it, or maybe they don't. Maybe they try to work around the bug. And then you just hope somebody will inform you, or you guys will catch it in your own testing. And that could be months before you're made aware of a bug or a feature request. All of that is seconds now. It's seconds. So release schedules that are generally, look at inductive automation. Inductive automation does one major release every 18 months, right? They do a major every 18 months, 12 to 18 months, and they do minor releases, 13 a year, one a month. They try to do a release every 2 weeks. One will be feature requests, one's bug fixes. You could do 18 months of releases in a month. In a month. And that's if you took a bunch of vacations. Like, think about the impact of software. Think about the impact here. But here's the biggest impact. All of you who build user interfaces, I'm talking about building, okay? Instantiating an instance of a class and then going class dot whatever field equals class dot. You don't do that anymore. You will never do that again. Now what you have to do is you have to go, okay, since I'm not the one who's actually writing this, I'm not actually doing the coding, what's my role? My role is to manage development. And I believe there's a place, John McKeon. So can we build a completely new technology offering that has no constraints? Sure. Will 4.0 solutions create a bootcamp type of training to become better the apps using? Yes. Annabelle, I'm absolutely, we are going to be teaching a lot of these skills. Here's really what's going to change. And here, let's talk about some weird implications. Part of the reason this works right now is because there are highly fluent software developers out there and project managers. By the way, I don't recommend React for the UI. Everybody's very high on React. I don't recommend React. The advantage of React is that, you could create mobile and desktop at the same time. But why not just create both? Two completely different optimal. I mean, you can literally use Kotlin to build the Android app and release it now. I mean, fundamentally, even the platforms for how we manage software are going to change. All of them. Think about how often you get an app update on your iPhone or your Android phone. I don't think the idea that you're going to compile and unit test and then and send an update with a release notes, that's out the window. All of that can be done like that.
Matt said, so it seems like the server is smart enough to run specific processes to collect the bits of data needed to ultimately create the data model you're going for based on the business use case you're trying to solve.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I'm having agents build. I mean, let me show you. Let me show you another thing.
Matt, are you going to be at the MCP workshop?
The implications, man, for you guys, I want to make sure before we get out of here, I want to say this. So before you need to be thinking kind of where the market is going. Like I'm telling you right now, I want to drive this point home because I got cut off earlier on this one. I have made a bunch of phone calls to people I know in software, okay, in our industry. To a person, there are two types of people, okay? 1% are super excited, and they are, jumping in with both feet. And there's a lot of people who work for other companies. They work for other companies and they're like, you know what? The company I work for is going broke. I'm going to start my own gig. There's a lot of people doing that right now. A lot. Okay. So you've got that group. Okay. You got that group. And then you've got the other 99% who are shitting themselves. Software companies across the board are scrambling. No matter who I call, they're all freaking out. Every one of them. Every one of them. Because think about what it is most software companies sell. What they're really selling. Why are they charging as much as they do? Think about it. Why do they charge? Why does the average SCADA platform cost $10,000? The answer is because to get to 1,000 customers takes forever. And they have operating costs. There's a lot of labor that goes into building software. Not anymore. Not anymore.
There's still a lot of expertise that goes into building it.
But here's the deal. The deal is once you get to the expertise, okay, and then expertise grow, you have a lot of expertise in the market, then the market is paying less and less and less for your expertise because you're one of 100, you're one of 1,000, you're one of 10,000. That's how market factors work. What's the fundamental difference? Why is it no one else built Ignition? Because by the time it was Ignition, 2008, they had been building it for 6 years.
Would take too much time, cost too much money.
Take too much time and cost too much money. No one was going to try and redo the 6 years. You want to know who's the most screwed? You want to know who's the most screwed? And it's not your SCADA platforms. It really isn't. Like if you safely connect to hardware and you safely control hardware, you're safe. Because there's no executive in their right mind who's going to say, we're going to have agents doing that. You want to know why? Because you don't get 5 nines of reliability from an agent. Best case scenario, you got 98% reliability. You're not going to accept 2% fatalities. No one's accepting 2% fatalities. Okay, in Heinrich's accident triangle, okay, it says there's a mathematical calculation. The number of at-risks, there for every 300 at-risks, there's one near miss. For every 300 near misses, there's one first aid. For every 300 first aids, there is one lost time accident. For every 300 lost time accidents, there's one death. Okay, if you can only be 98% accurate in the implementation of something that controls machinery that could kill people, you're going to have a 2% fatality rate. No one's going to accept that. So control is good. But on this business side, are you going to accept 98% accuracy to get your report in 4 seconds rather than have somebody do it in 3 weeks? Yeah. An actuary is going to do that math. You know, all I keep thinking about with UNS Studio is what is our goal here? Why are we doing it? And the answer is we have got to figure out how to teach people by giving them a platform they can learn in. Okay. UNS Studio is designed to be at the MES layer and above. It'll connect to stuff and consume from stuff from SCADA down, but is not meant to control anything. Okay. So it's that layer that bolts in to infrastructure, consumes, and I can learn how UNS works and digital transformation works. I can also prototype solutions. Okay. I can connect to things. I can design things. I can build things, and I can while I'm leveraging UNS. And underneath the big umbrella is I'm learning. I cannot stress enough to you guys. I cannot stress enough to you. Your fluency is the most important thing. It's not your expertise right now. It's your fluency. If someone asks you, what is MCP? What is Model Context Protocol? And you don't know how to say, well, it's really an API for AI agents that connects them into infrastructure, and it informs them on the things that are possible, the tools it has available to it to meet objectives. Because you're going to give agents an objective. You're not going to give it a task. Do this thing. You're going to say you're in charge of this objective. And just like the Japanese don't trust Americans, so in the Japanese companies that operate inside the United States, there's a Japanese manager for every American manager. It's like a 1-to-1 relationship. You know what I mean? So the American manager makes a decision. The Japanese manager is the one who approves it. It's like they're like a Japanese babysitter. That's how it works. That's what you are. That's what you are for an AI agent. Is there anything you guys want to see? Like what I'm trying to do, the reason we jumped on here is I wanted to talk about where it's going. Like I'm telling you right now, every software company I've talked to is freaking out. Every one of them. Now I've talked to individuals who are really excited and they see the potential and, I want to build a product or whatever. And I know a bunch of people who are building products. And they're all building the wrong ones. They're all like building. They're all thinking in terms of what I am selling is the code I'm writing. The reason they're not asking the question, to me, it doesn't, like software OEMs aren't asking the right questions. For example, what was your actual value to the market? Your value to the market was being able to hire software developers who could build the functions you were selling, okay, and then managing them effectively, and then maintaining your software. Okay, first off, AI is democratizing that so that the average person who doesn't know a Kotlin developer or a Python developer or a Java developer has a developer at their fingertips. What is the skill of that person? It's their ability to take the goal and the vision and break it down into simple steps, 10 minutes at a time, and then manage the agent. Annabelle, what are the top 2 things those software companies are freaking out about? Many of them are the value that they were originally selling is no longer valuable. That's the big one. The second thing is they know once they've taken a look at MCP, they've said, you know what? The ideal architecture, okay, the ideal architecture for software to integrate with an MCP server is I basically have a RESTful type API in the middle of my software. So my UI is interacting through a open API into the backend where the master data models are and where the persisted data is and where the definitions are. They're interacting through an open API to get that stuff. Okay? Because then all you got to do is you can write an MCP server that bolts a one-to-one relationship, method to tool, method tool. Tool is MCP, method is API. You could just basically drop an MCP server on and go method tool, method tool, method tool, method tool, right? And as long as you have the right documentation, the agent will take it the rest of the way. Now you just give the agent the objective. The reason I was using the Bible app the other day as an illustrative point was I was trying to show, we talk industry all the time, but what I'm trying to do is illustrate it in other ways. You know, think about it. With the Bible app itself, I'll read a chapter, 2 chapters a day. I always read Proverbs and then I'm reading through the Bible somewhere else, right? 4,000 something chapters, takes 4,000 something days to get through the Bible. And I'll get to a point like something that really resonates and I'll highlight that text and I want to write a little note. I want to bookmark it, or what I'll do is I'll go, I don't really understand that. I need to see that same verse, but in another translation. You know what I mean? And all the apps were designed to support that. But what was my ultimate goal? My ultimate goal, the objective, was to be close to the Word of God, learn from the Word of God, hear the message, become a better human being, serve the kingdom better. That's the ultimate goal. Right? Well, now my Bible app using AI agents gets me faster. I can process faster. So now I'm not limited to 1 chapter a day. I'm not limited to 2. I can do in the 30 minutes of Bible study I used to do, I can do 30 chapters.
Someone asked, does it make sense as an IoT integrator? This is why we're doing the integrator program.
Yeah.
To build our own SCADA or an MES. What would you recommend?
Okay, so no. Should you build your own SCADA and MES? Absolutely not. You definitely should not build your own SCADA. Okay, I mean, I have said this all along. There's a reason software PLCs don't exist. Okay, and a lot of people try to do it. Okay. Whenever you're controlling machinery, okay, you're controlling equipment. I mean, yeah, I'm not surprised that deal's not going to happen. There's one thing I'd love to share, but I think it's privileged, so I can't share it. But let's just let me put it this way. PTC is in a lot of fucking trouble. A lot of trouble. They are in a lot of trouble. A lot. Yeah.
I love how you're like, software companies are freaking out. Let's start a software company.
Well, first off, I don't want to start a software company. I want to work on my ranch. Okay. What I want to do is be on my ranch and spend time with my grandkids. That's what I want to do. What I am doing is what the community needs right now. The moment the community doesn't need me to pass on whatever it is I've learned in my career, I'm not going to pass it on anymore. There was some dude who gave me a hard time about something I put in a video. I'm like, dude, if I never taught another lesson ever again, I would be perfectly fine with that. Like, I would be, believe you me, the day I shoot my last YouTube video, you'll never hear from me ever again. You will not, it's like I don't want to do this. I feel like I have a responsibility to the community that has helped me so much. And I know that I have a responsibility to manufacturers.
Well, someone asked, how will AI change education? Or if AI is so good, why would I need to sign up for the MCP workshop next week or 2 weeks?
Well, let me come back to that here in a second. Let me ask this real quick. I want to read Natish's thing, then I want to read Annabelle's. Natish said, something I've been thinking about. Often the bottleneck in projects isn't just backend or infrastructure, but the speed at which the UI is built. I'm curious whether anyone else experienced this. Could you organize a workshop on software products that center around UNS and not built on Ignition? Yes, absolutely. I'd love to. We'll do it. Let me say this. You want to know, I'll give you guys some inside baseball. All of the software products that I build, the API backend layer, I try to treat them not as separate entities, but as coupled together. Okay. So I try to treat backend and API as a whole. And I want my API to be two APIs. Okay. API 1 is RESTful and API 2 is JSON. And what I want to do is UNS. So this is why Litmus, by the way, Litmus has a unified namespace inside of Litmus Edge that it literally is a unified namespace, how all the functions are interacting with one another. It's kind of brilliant how they built it, you know? So number one, I try to couple API and backend together. UI is, for me, I always thought the UI component is the one that changes the most. But you want to know why it doesn't change very often? Because the amount of work that goes into building it. Like, think about, like, in Ignition, for example. I used to say this all the time. Never, ever, ever. You know how many people used to have a query run on a window? They would literally have a component making a database call where the result set returned to the component inside the view on of a window. And if you don't know the problem with that, you don't understand software. Okay, that call should be decoupled and it should happen somewhere else where the result set's the only thing that you need in the component. You don't need all the overhead of making the call. And if I have 20
database
clients,
connection from every client.
Right. And if I got 20 clients, all of them are making the same query, even though they're looking at the same fucking window. So I have always said, no. UI should be completely decoupled from API backend. Totally. Okay. And then you want to centralize and you want to visualize based on, you want to land the data that goes on a visualization, no matter how many instances of that visualization there are. Okay. Let me finish. So I want to talk about the UI piece. How fundamentally how things have changed is I think most user interfaces are going to be built on the fly. Okay, they're going to be built on the fly. That is, they're not going to be a form with a bunch of fields that are rendered. What's going to happen is the code that defines how we see something is going to get generated as the window opens by an agent. And so it will naturally, as the agent gets better and better and better at converting the prompt into the objective, the visualization will improve without somebody going, move the label over here, move the label. That's what I think is going to happen.
That's an unintended consequence I didn't think about.
And
the agent improvement rate is insane.
Yeah. Annabelle said a couple of things here real quick. The scarce resource, Yasir, will still be adapting skills. I'm laughing my ass off when people mention AI limitations when what we need to discuss is how the workforce will catch up in terms of upskilling and reskilling. Let me say this. I'll say that. I think all of the elite level developers, all the people who learn really fast, and are curious and they can, when there's new tech that comes out, like what Mark Friedman's doing, that I guarantee that fucking guy is working 22 hours a day. Like it's all he's thinking about when he's in bed. He's forgetting to feed his dog and he flops out onto the floor and he gets back up into his desk without brushing his teeth. And he's like just diving right back in. That's what like rock stars do. You know what I mean? Like, when when there's new tech and your curiosity is piqued, you're just all in on it 1,000%. Anybody who's like that, Sam Elsner's on here. I know Sam is like that. I know Yasir is like that. Like there are anybody who's on here who's like that. Okay. You obviously must have come to the conclusion that the people who are in the elite sphere, the ones who have broad skill sets, as Yasir talks about here, they are pulling away faster and faster with each technological iteration. Okay. And that's not a good thing. That's a bad thing. the biggest issue is how do we speed up the fluency of the average person in the industry at the same rate at which the people at the most curious and the ones who will work 22 hours a day at the same rate at which they're evolving? How do we do that?
Hands-on training, like working with them, because people don't know the questions. You put a prompt in front of them, they don't know the questions to ask.
Correct. It's, the reality is that I think, like I'm doing a consulting thing next week, Monday and Tuesday. I'm consulting with a software company. I'm doing, I get hired by companies. They're OEMs in our industry. They bring me in. We look at the company from the top to bottom. We look at, their go-to-market strategy, ideal customer profile. What are all the features in their software? And I'm just asking lots of questions, and their goal is like, they just want me to come in and give them recommendations, basically. Right. And then we end up doing a big whiteboard session. And I ask them about their architecture, and we go through and I go, oh, I would change this. And oh, you absolutely need to change this about licensing. And, I basically give them a bunch of action items, and I do that all the time. And most of the time they have an agenda. They like, hey, we're really struggling in this area. What's your advice? Blah, blah, blah. So I'm doing one of those next week, Monday and Tuesday, before we go to Indianapolis to the Brickyard 400. I'm going to be at the Brickyard next week. If you guys are going to be at the race, anyone's going to be at the race, I'll have my RV in turn 4. So if you're at the race, send me a message and we'll bring you on over and we'll have a beer at my RV. But on Monday and Tuesday, one of the things I need to talk with this company about, now they're a relatively newer company, so they don't have a lot of technical debt. The second question, what are the 2 things they're freaking out about? The second one is software companies are freaking out about the fact that they realize the way they built their internal APIs isn't cohesive to map MCP tools to. And so they're like, holy shit, we have all this technical debt. And hey, that strategic decision we made years ago to go closed API, to not even even if you didn't have the API exposed externally, if you were using open principles in design, you would be better positioned to bolt MCP tools onto each method. They're freaking out about that. We made this you want to know who's the most screwed? Microsoft. Microsoft's in the most trouble. They are. Just from a architectural perspective. You want to know who's in the best position cloud-wise? It's Google and Snowflake. It's Google and Snowflake. They're only going to pull away. The cloud providers and the AI providers are becoming more and more important with this technological advancement.
Because of the server resources?
Yes. Because of the compute. You're not going to buy the GPUs that do this for you. Put it in perspective, guys. Those of you who use I'm spending, just on my own personal AI accounts, I'm spending $800 a month on those subscriptions. And then I'm spending another $4,000 a week on overages. Think about that. So for those of you who are doing this, okay, you guys are doing the kind of stuff we're doing. I'm spending $4,000 a week on overages. I'm spending $16,000 a month.
So at what is there a point where where someone said this the other day, like where the AI resources cost ends up costing more than just hiring a developer again?
Well, the reality is here's the thing. The reality is that I'm only spending that to get to minimum viable product.
Then it's going to taper off.
No, it doesn't taper off. It drops. If you look at my compute for the Bible app, my compute now is down into just a subscription cost.
So it's taking like a tenth the time, but like maybe you're almost spending like a salary or 2 on software developers at this point if you're doing
correct
1,000 a week.
Yes. Richie Hite, can I know more about the integrator program you mentioned earlier? Yes. All right. Here's what we're doing on the integrator program. And then I want to go to Annabelle's comment there. Ian, it's Ian Murphy. Software companies also are probably trying to undo their technical debt built into approaches they were using to build in AI capabilities that are now outdated. Approaches changing every month. Yeah. There are a lot of people there are a lot of software companies who they made the wrong strategic decision because they knew where AI was now, but they were having trouble seeing where it's going. The reason we are doing this session, I am not talking about what's possible now, even though I've showed you what's possible now. I'm talking about what's going to happen. Like the last thing in the world you should do is put your eggs, go, you know what? I'm really going to focus on developing APIs. I'm really going to focus on developing UI. I'm going to really focus on mastering this platform, a platform. No. You need to be focusing on how this platform is going to connect to this other platform. You need to be focusing on fluency of model context protocol. Do you need to be able to build an MCP server? No. I built one so you don't have to. You can learn it. You can learn one in the UNS Studio without having to build one. Okay? If you want to build one, build one. But do you have to build one? You don't. Okay? Do you need to be able to build an MCP client? No. But you should know how an MCP client interacts with an MCP server and what a tool is inside of a server and how an agent uses those tools. You need to know that. That's the fluency piece. Okay? Richie, to answer your question about the integrator program, a lot of people have asked questions about, how did you start your integrator? And so we had talked about doing like this workshop and we wanted to certify Industry 4 integrators and all this kind of stuff. So the integrator program encapsulates many things. First and foremost, it's going to start with a workshop. So the workshop is going to be a multi-day workshop, multi-week workshop, actually, multi-day, but it'll never be 2 days in a row because it's going to be a lot in each session. And it's going to be the genesis of starting an integrator. Right? We're going to talk about strategy and getting liability insurance and errors and omissions and all the details. How did I source resources? Like if I was working out of my garage and then I sold a bunch of work, how did you hire your engineers? Well, the answer is I had a strategy where I had all the engineers lined up before I sold the work. And I had these agreements in place. If I sell the work, you agree to come work for me based on this agreement. I didn't wait till I had the work to try and go find people. And I didn't get people and then try to find the work because then I'd constantly be chasing the cash issue. So the workshop is going to be all the details about starting, scaling, and operating an Industry 4 integrator, right down to project management and how to write a proposal and what category should be in the proposal and all that jazz. All right. Then from there, we are going to train Industry 4 skills to integrators. Then we are going to test those skills from the integrators, and then we are going to certify. And there will be a recurring mastermind with all those Industry 4 integrators, just the integrators, a recurring session monthly where all those integrators are going to, collaborate, culturally diffuse and learn lessons on a monthly basis to maintain fluency, keep their eye on the market. I just did a thing with one of the integrators, one of our Industry 4 integrators. I did like a call and an advisement call and walk through like, hey man, there are only 3 reasons a company would ever be struggling to sell. Okay. And here are the 3 reasons. Okay. And, answer this question. Reason 1, answer this question. Reason 2, answer this question. Reason 3. Okay. Your problem is a combination of reason 2 and 3. It's not number 1. Okay. So let's put together action items on, this issue here, taking the expertise and getting the expertise in front of the people who need your expertise and then focusing on their problems. That's an issue. And then you have this other issue here, which is the operational
I think we're calling it like our integrator growth program.
Yeah.
Like it's like coaching and consulting combined with training and systems for support and success. I mean, people want to know, how did you scale Intellic to an 8-figure valuation? Like that's what people want to know if we're being honest.
And the reason we're doing that is we need more Industry 4 integrators. Annabelle said, by the way, UNS is not only for manufacturing, it's a tool that is domain agnostic and can unlock potential in any industry. Absolutely. I mean, let me make something perfectly clear. UNS is an architecture I use everywhere, including in my home. There is a unified namespace running in my house.
There's a unified namespace running in your brain.
Yeah, there's UNS running in my brain.
Connected with Neuralink.
And any other
UNS Studio. When can people
I know
expect?
you're.
Like,
I know
when
you're
are we
not.
going to launch the alpha?
Real quick.
Well,
We'll go
when is
two
it going to
things.
be ready? What
I
needs
know
to
you're
happen
not.
before
I know
it's
you're
ready?
not a fan of Palantir, but this sounds a lot like what they offer in their product suite. Okay, I am not a fan of Palantir, the company. I am definitely a fan of Foundry and the technology.
Got it.
Okay. The fundamental issue with Palantir. Okay.
Be careful.
Oh yeah, I just need to be. The fundamental issue with Palantir is one of values. Okay. And it is one of go-to-market strategy. There is a belief at Palantir.
Thing.
Yes. There is a belief at Palantir that the decision-making across industry will continue to consolidate. So Palantir's go-to-market is we need to be in Boeing. We need to be in Microsoft. We need to be at General Motors. We need to be at Ford. It fails to acknowledge the power of Amazon and Tesla. My pleasure, Annabelle. Any other questions about Model Context Protocol before I talk about UNS Studio? So UNS Studio is, we are going to release in a closed beta. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to be releasing this week. It's an alpha beta. I don't know if we're going to call it. I mean, it's minimum viable. It's functional. Alpha, crashes and that kind of stuff. There's no crashing or anything like that.
You said it was too soon to call it a beta, but
yeah. It's like right between alpha and beta. It's what we're going to do is we're going to
Studio version 0.5.
Yeah. So we're going to go to the mastermind students and we're going to do a closed alpha beta. Okay. Probably 20 to 30 people. It's going to be a controlled 2-week alpha beta. All right. So what's going to happen is if you sign up for the alpha beta, you're going to get the download link. So UNS Studio runs on Windows, Mac, and Linux. Okay. So you got to run on one of those 3 workstations, or at least it runs in other places, but we're doing, I'm not supporting it. We're not doing testing outside of those 3 platforms. So you're going to get a test script each day. Okay. So, and there inside of the platform is where you'll do feature requests and bug fix requests, just right inside the platform. It's all integrated. All right. So you'll get a test script each day. The idea is that we would have 30 minutes of testing for you to do every day, and then 30 minutes of documentation. Okay. 30 minutes of in fact, turning a GraphQL server into an MCP server is, I want to point something out. MCP, a lot of the uses for GraphQL have become obsolete because MCP is here now. Not that GraphQL is obsolete, but there's a lot of people who use GraphQL for things that wasn't intended for. MCP is taking over those things that it wasn't intended for. There's Docker actually running in UNS Studio. So we're actually deploying Docker. So the historian itself is a Docker image. So, but the UNS Studio is not being deployed in Docker in the alpha beta. There is a container right now that I am testing, but we're not doing that in the first 2-week alpha beta. Okay. So the first 2 weeks, there's going to be a script each day, and then you're going to get a new release the next day. Then we will decide whether in the second 2 weeks, we're going to do the exact same thing, except we're going to do it with Docker, where you'll just pull a new image, the updated image each day. Our primary goal of that, our primary goal is in the first 2 weeks, we want to make sure we've got the features right. That is, the features are there that need to be there, and they're functioning the way they need to function. That the way people want them. Because again, our goal is for people to be able to learn UNS and digital transformation by connecting, designing, building, and leveraging UNS.
And if you're not already, if you want to get in on this beta and you're not already a member, you can become a student at IIoT.university You can join our mentorship program, our mastermind program, or our pro membership. Any of those you'll become a student of IIoT.university, and you can be part of the beta program. But eventually it will be a commercial product that you can just subscribe for and sign up for without becoming a student.
Yeah, and so and real quick, so UNS Studio is it will be land and expand, so it'll be free to download and use 2 hours at a time and all that jazz. And it'll be once you need it to run for greater than 2 hours, that's when the license will be required, and the license will be very, very inexpensive. I mean, and I'm not. We haven't finalized any of the commercials because we're still doing all the math. We're basically doing. We want cost plus 20%. The truth is, the cost is very low. So, and we're doing that across 1,000 licenses. So, as it gets greater than 1,000 licenses, then the cost per year is going to go down, as long as our cost doesn't go up. The stated model will be cost plus 20%, and that 20% is for the capital reinvestment. So, I mean, right now, based on current math, we're looking at less than $500 a year licensing cost based on the current math. So what is that? What's 50 divided by 12?
$420.
Less than 50 bucks. Less than $50 a month.
That'd be sick. Yeah. I want it to be a product that there's no by the way, almost anyone can subscribe to.
There's a reason we're doing this. It's because I want to reset the pricing model in industry. I want that to be my legacy. No, UNS is really my legacy in the community, and just the impact we've had on manufacturers in general. I just think the number of people have listen, you guys, this community, not you, but the community has transformed.
Dude, imagine once we release UNS Studio into the beta, and then people start doing videos with it, showing things that they've built or things you can do with it. We create a little viral moment, viral movement.
Is there anything else you guys want to know about MCP before we drop? Any other question about Model Context Protocol? Any question about what I've learned in going through this? I cannot stress enough, gang. You must know MCP. You must know MCP. You must know MCP. You have to. I mean, to put it in perspective, this is how fast it's changing. So one of the prompts that I built to do internally is the agent has to hit our Stripe payment system. Okay, so Stripe is how we manage all the subscriptions and invoices and everything at IIoT.university. In order for us to know, okay, plus minus, to do the cash flow, we got to hit that system. When I started building that a few weeks ago, there was no Stripe connector in Claude, for example. So Claude has connectors, MCP connectors. You can just go add a connector, add an integration, grab one. It wasn't there. The only place you could use it was you would have to pull the Stripe image into a Docker container, then go to your Claude desktop JSON file, Claude desktop config.json, and then put in the configuration for your container. And you would have to tell it whether it was going to spin the Docker image up as it needed it, or is there one just running there all the time? Stripe just added the integration, so now you no longer need that configuration.
Oh, sick.
That's how much it's changed. That's how fast
Stripe's
this is changing.
They're on top of it, yeah.
The number of integrations that have been added have tripled in 3 weeks. So if you go to a Claude desktop agent and look at the number of integrations, those are all MCP integrations. Go to Claude desktop, go to connectors or integrations, whatever, add integration. Every integration you see there, that's an MCP server. Okay? They've all tripled.
Mariano, can you use MCP on N8N?
Yes. In fact, they have great docs. Is it needed? No, it's not. There's so many things. The big thing is there's so many tools and products, software companies. It was like they failed to understand where AI was actually going. And they really thought that, embedding an agent in their tool was going to be important. It's not. Letting an agent, you having an MCP server in your software is what matters, and let external agents.
Yeah, they did, huh? They all wanted to have their own embedded AI agent. Yeah.
Think about all the people who embedded an AI agent in their software in the last year, and now that's useless.
You don't want to have to go to every tool, every different agent, every different tool.
Correct.
To use their agent. You want to use one agent that uses.
You want one agent centralized.
Fuck.
Yeah, useless.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Oh shit, that's
now. Here's the thing.
Exactly what they did.
If you put an agent inside your tool, what you do is you make your agent inside your tool connect to your server. You don't give your agent access to your API. You create an MCP server with the tools. That all of them,
way external consumers would use it.
Yeah, that you have it integrated the same way. And like all these software companies that I'm looking at, they're all doing it the same way. They're not doing it. It's like it's almost as if the executive always thinks, is always thinking in terms of, are we giving away any of our market by doing this? You can't think that.
You got to think, how can I expose this to more market? Well, let me ask you this: based on the new way things are being done, who are you most bullish on,
company wise? I'll give you two guesses.
I don't want to say the wrong one, and then
I'll give you two guesses.
No, that's not it.
I mean, you're really choosing from three, but I'll give you two guesses.
I mean, I know there was one that you were,
Go ahead.
But
who do you think?
Wait,
hold on a second.
I would say
no. Let's ask the community here. Let's ask the community here. Based on this recent developments, give me an example of a company you would think I'm really, really high on?
I mean, it's got to be HiByte. I mean, they're well positioned to be the center of the data platform that connects to your AI agents.
What about design software like Autodesk? Are they more safe? So it's between three companies that I would say I'm high on.
NVIDIA. Yeah. Am I on NVIDIA? Tesla. Oh, speaking of, so you think like Tesla will have an MCP server for their robotaxi application?
They already have an MCP server.
So I can just be like, hey, AI agent, I need to go to like the airport, and it'll just call me a robotaxi to.
All right.
Yeah,
it is.
This is your opinion. So
it is three companies that I am high on, and in order, here they are.
Claude,
first and foremost,
Anthropic.
First and foremost, and I'm talking about in our industry. This is limited to our industry. Okay. First and foremost, HiByte. Fucking HiByte is going to murder people.
And they're on for version 4.20 right now.
They are going to murder people. I mean, first off, I know how HiByte is built, how the software stack is built, and it is boom, 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 boom. HiByte is numero uno. Okay. Number two, Flow software. Okay. I see you just put it there. All right. Here's why on Flow. Okay. Flow hit a 5-run home run with Timebase. Okay. And they understand exactly where the industry is going with AI. They're already ahead of everybody. Okay. So Flow is going to explode. Okay. HiByte is uniquely positioned because of A, the way the software is built, and then B, when you couple it where the software lands in infrastructure, it has access to everything. Okay. So it's literally, they can just map their API. Method tool. And you're going to have agents. You're going to have agents be able to create information models and route data through HiByte on the fly. Okay, you're not going to have to create a flow yourself. You're going to have an agent create the flow for you. And you're not even going to tell it what to create. You're going to tell it what the objective it is. And it's going to know, Flow is going to become an API within an API. Okay. Number two is Flow. I mean, Flow, first off, what they did with Timebase is off the charts. What their AI gateway, what they're doing with the AI gateway is literally exactly what we we've shown here. I mean, Jeff, they posted a video the day after we did our podcast that had almost the exact same function we did in the podcast, and they'd been working on it for like 2 months. Like we were literally thinking in the exact same direction. And then number three is Google, because of Litmus and manufacturing MDE. I mean, let me say about Litmus. Most people just do not know Litmus is everywhere. I just got done shooting an enterprise training program that we did for a huge OEM. Okay. There's a huge OEM that came out with these new gateways, and they had their own cloud solution. And they wanted us to shoot 27 basically beginner, intermediate, and advanced training across 9 subjects. So 27 videos, where really what we were doing is teaching their sales force and their sales engineers how to sell this new technology that they have. How do you solve problems with this technology that they came out with? Okay. And they have these gateways, amazing gateways that essentially, connect, collect, store, analyze. And you want to know what the bulk of the gateway is running? Litmus Edge. I mean, and they're just one of like 24 companies or something that just basically said we're dropping Litmus in.
Oh my God.
My company is too big to listen to me to tell them about MCP. They're still pushing products to be developed on Excel. You need a different company. All right, man. We went way longer than I wanted to. So you guys are going to see a lot more. I'm going to be shooting a video on UNS Studio or do a complete walkthrough of the version that's going to be going into the beta. So right now there's 4 branches. So we have 4 forks of the application. We've got one that's ready for alpha beta. We have a second fork that I think is going to get merged in for the alpha beta before we start. So and then we have 2 additional forks where we're trying 2 different architectural changes. Go ahead.
And yeah, again, it's super easy to become a student at IIoT.university. I mean, the mastermind program you can join, and it's like $300 a month.
Do me a favor. It'll get you access to put the QR code up for the workshop.
I want to make it clear. If you join the mastermind program, you get access to the MCP workshop. So it's like $300 a month. So you could literally join and show up on July 29th and 30th, join us for the workshop, and then join us for 12 months, be a part of the program, and get access, like
I know.
You said, we're gonna do a private doing his job to the mastermind community.
I know Zach is doing his job, but I hate when we do that stuff.
No, people need to know that it's super easy. IIoT.university / course for the MCP workshop.
Elena Grebneva, what is your recommended path to start learning about MCP? I mean, honestly, this is going to be a shameless plug, but it is the MCP workshop. I mean, this QR code that's on here, literally, it's a 2-day workshop. We're going to open with what is MCP. Okay, so I'm going to do a lesson at the very beginning. The first hour, I'm going to do a lesson that's kind of similar to what we've been doing here, but much more in depth. I'm going to talk about what is MCP. Then Aaron Semley from HighByte is doing the rest of the workshop. We are right now currently working on trying to get Mark Friedman to join. Mark is interested in doing it, getting him to join and to do a small lesson in the workshop. And then also Flow Software to come in and preview their AI agent, the AI gateway that's using MCP, getting them to come in as part of that. And then Aaron Semley from HighByte is going to teach the complete workshop. The second half of day 1. So the first half of day 1 is what is MCP agnostically. The second half of day 1 is what is MCP in HighByte. And then you will know right away why it is I'm so high on HighByte. And then day 2 is he's doing an actual MCP integration with HighByte, a walkthrough with you. Okay, so day 2 is the technical hands-on. Day 1 is the theory. Okay, the best way, the path is you must first learn what is model context protocol. And honestly, where we are right now, July 15th, the workshop starts to 29 and 30, right?
Yep.
It is to do that workshop.
See, people wouldn't ask that question if it was clear. So that's why we have to, like you said, shameless plug.
What edge on large projects should we use? Walker, litmus is everywhere. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I really wish we need to be pro on agents. Yes, you need to be pro on agents. I think a lot of by pro, I think you mean not con, like not against agents. I think the reason people who are against agents is because they don't understand what they do. It's a fear of what they don't know. Okay, I mean, I'm telling you, if you were sitting in the chair right next to me while Zach has been on, I've done screen shares while I'm developing. My team has seen the things that, yes, do you need to be a pro on an expert on agents? Yes. You need to be an expert on how an agent integrates into infrastructure through MCP. You need to be an expert on what models are good at what. Okay, that's a really and that fluency comes through working with them. But the biggest one is you need to know how to be a resource for an agent. You need to become a professional at being the human resource for an agent that helps it meet its objective. And an agent meeting its objective is a function of being connected into the data and information it needs, okay? But also being given some pretty explicit instructions about how to achieve that objective.
Your job is to fill out the CAPTCHA when the AI agent gets stuck behind a "Are you a bot?" screen.
Here, you want to know the company I wish I owned? I wish I owned Kepware. I could turn Kepware into a leading, I mean, literally the leading connect, collect, store, analyze platform in the world without a thinking fucking twice about it. And I know that Kepware is doing a bunch of they're doing I know that our video where we called PTC out. We didn't call Kepware out. We love Kepware. We called PTC out. It met its intended goal. Let's just put it that way. Behind the scenes, it worked. Okay, it absolutely worked. Are there any prereqs for the upcoming MCP workshop? Do I need to be pre-install any software? Aaron's going to be sending out a message to everybody. But I think he's giving you the prereqs on day one. If I'm day one is a theory, and I'm pretty sure he's giving you prereqs, and he's going to give you links to downloading the VM and all that stuff at the end of day one. But Kepware, of all the companies that have the most potential that's being unrealized right now, it's Kepware.
Not Rockwell Automation. Don't make me cut
it's not. It's just math, man. It's just math.
Bond's gonna call me, dude. Bond's gonna call me.
Well, that's my opinion. Rockwell is not positioned to adopt MCP. Why? Somebody will go, Walker, back it up. Okay, I'll back it up. Rockwell operates. Yes. By the way, there you go. The Tesla MCP. I was telling you, he was asking about MCP. Tesla is using MCP on a level that most people, it boggles the fucking mind how the hell they adopted it so quickly. It boggles the mind. Most people didn't even get involved until March. It became available to us at the beginning of the year. Anthropic was developing it all last year, and they started talking about it the middle of last year. And Tesla has literally just bolted MCP onto their internal. I posted a thing on X today. Some guy, there was a guy who said, his statement was, prediction, Tesla will grow to be the world's most valuable company. And I said, of course it will. Tesla is the most digitally advanced company in the world. They have one unified digital infrastructure, comprehensive internal API for all functions, and a data-first culture. Wait until they just map their API to the MCP tools that they've recently announced and give agents access to the complete infrastructure and just see what happens.
Not investment advice, by the way.
Not investment advice, ever. Yes.
But it will be the most valuable company in the world. Disclaimer: I am a Tesla investor.
I'll say this one last thing. We might as well go the full 2 hours. We got 6 minutes. I'll say this one last thing. A lot of people ask me like, man, don't you care that you piss people off? Never. Like, not at all. I just don't. My mindset in my head is always, if I'm right and someone gets angry, that's a them problem. Well, I care about whether I'm right. Well, like, did I say something that was correct? And if not, I need to apologize. Like, I don't want to be wrong, but if I'm right, if what I'm saying is a fair, correct observation, or it is my professional opinion, and I'm saying it is right, I don't take into account, partner, so-and-so might get upset, or I can't do that. I can't. Everybody else in the world does that all day long, and look at how that works out for them. I can't think about whether someone gets upset. If you're an adult, and at the end of the day, after you have your emotional reaction, you're like, you know what, he was right. Technically, he was right. That's good enough for me. That's good enough for me. All right. With that,
you're not too hard on me, Walker. You could go a little harder, but you're not too easy on me either. I was joking. I was like, Walker, why are you going so easy on me? Like, right now is the time to turn up the intensity. Honestly, guys, that's why we did the podcast. The future of the industry is changing, and you need to be prepared for it. So that's why we're here. I mean,
it's at the end of the day, where my head is at right now is this is the greatest change in our industry in my whole career. Where we are right now, what's happening right at this moment. I mean, literally every software company's freaking out. Like, notice no one is saying anything. There's no announcements. There's no Flow's announcement is the only announcement. There's nothing going on at all. Everyone is quiet. And so I got on the phone. I'm like, wait a minute. Because I get all these notifications through my Google searches and all that stuff. And I'm like, I get on the phone, I start calling everybody, and they're like, I'm like, hey man, so, what do you guys think about MCP? Give me the skinny. And they're all saying the same thing. Everyone's freaking out, man. Everyone's freaking out.
I'm going to be at OT Skatacon next week, doing a speech on the fourth industrial revolution. And I'm still I'm still writing my speech. I should have had it done a few weeks ago, but like, I'm glad I'm waiting because like it's changed. What I'm going to say is actually changed because now we need to, illustrate. I want to talk about how MCP to the fifth is what MQTT was to the fourth. And also Prove It ICC. Is MCP going to play a bigger role at Prove It Virtual Factory at the Prove It ICC this year?
Say that again.
Prove It and ICC. Mm-hmm. The collaboration we're doing with Inductive Automation at their community conference.
Prove It is at ICC. We have 17 vendors who are doing the virtual factory Prove It sessions at ICC this year, and it's like a mini Prove It because this one is everyone's they're using the same virtual factories we did at Prove It, except they've got to use their product and Ignition's, so they have to use Ignition in their solution. And we've got 7. Actually, the email goes out today with the functional specs to all the vendors who are participating, and then they get access to the virtual factory 2 weeks from now, and then they have 8 weeks to build their solution for the show. So if you guys want to see Prove It, like mid-year Prove It at ICC, make sure you guys get tickets. You can go to IIoT or proveitconference.com, and there's a link there for the ICC. It takes you to Inductive Automation's website. I wanted to answer the question about agent to agent. Somebody earlier had mentioned about Google A2A, agent to agent protocol. Do I think it's a big deal? Yes. It's the reason that Google's number 3 on my list. I think what's really important, there's like a misconception out there, is A2A Google's MCP? No, not at all. A to A is how agents talk to agents. MCP is how agents talk to infrastructure. So A2A is a way of creating horizontal scale and vertical scale with agents across vendors. And notice, I want to give Google a shout out here. We work with all the big cloud providers. Google is hyper focused on going open with agentic AI. They're the first cloud provider to make the Gemini or the Google Cloud Services MCP servers open and accessible to all other vendors. So like Claude has native connectors to Gmail and Calendar. Notice, there's another big cloud company out there who fucking threatened me, who don't have those connectors. By the way, I can say that. Okay.
If this podcast is not live in the next hour, you guys
if you guys want to know why the podcasts come down when they're live, it's because there's a team watching right now who literally the second we get off, they're like, you got to take out this, you got to take out this, you got to take out this. Yeah.
We have an AI agent.
Yeah. By the way, but to answer your question, A2A, agent to agent with Google is a big deal. All right. With that, like, subscribe, comment down below. We'll have the announcement on UNS Studio for the alpha beta coming up.